Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our monthly All In for Kansas Kids Strengthening Early Childhood in Kansas Systems Building webinar for Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. My name is Julia Gruss. I am a research project coordinator at KU's Center for Public Partnerships and Research. I am also joined by my colleague Brianna Houston, who will be following along and dropping any relevant links into the chat that you see on your screen, as well as monitoring the chat for any questions that you may have for our presenter today. As always, our webinar series is held on the second Wednesday of the month. To receive early childhood systems updates weekly, you can sign up for our All In for Kansas Kids e-newsletter on the Children's Cabinet website at www.kschildrenscabinet.gov. Today, we have a community initiative spotlight with a presentation by Sarah Wassinger of Ellis County. We were supposed to have two presenters today, but our Reno County representative fell very ill last week, so she was not able to be here today, but we are hoping that she will be able to join us next month in December to highlight Reno County. And then following Sarah's presentation, I have just a few early childhood systems updates for you, and then we will wrap it up. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Sarah, who is going to talk to us about what's going on in Ellis County.
Thank you so much, Julia. And I just wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity to share the great work that's being done surrounding childcare in Ellis County. If you want to go ahead and advance the next slide, please. So we'll just review a little bit about how our organization got started, as well as kind of some of the things that we've done in our community to address childcare, and specifically talk about the media campaign that we've been utilizing to help make progress in childcare. Next slide. So I just wanted to share a little bit about the mission statement that came to be. We've actually had a couple of variations now since our work started back in 2021. The original mission statement was to create and maintain a sustainable quality childcare environment that assists in attracting employees to Ellis County while developing our children into the next generation of community leaders and workforce. Our chamber felt it was really important when we got started to make sure that we were doing a connection and tie back to our chamber members and businesses, so we could better indicate why we were spending time as a chamber working on childcare. And as we've kind of evolved in that work in the past 4 years, we really wanted to make sure that we know our community understands the need for childcare and the connection between having opportunities for childcare for our businesses and their family people that they employ. And so instead of worrying about us having to make that connection, why our chamber is specifically working on addressing childcare, we've really focused our mission now to being a resource center for our childcare professionals and helping them cultivate our next generation of community leaders and workforce. And so education has become a very big focus, but we also want to empower the current and future childcare professionals to provide quality care that strengthens Ellis County families and businesses. And so we went again from that chamber scope of work and really turned it back into what does our community need to support our current childcare providers. Next slide. And in that process, really, one of the things I remember first discussing on the very first meeting we had back in 2021 was our childcare providers were being referred to as babysitters and things of that nature. And I don't know that the average person perhaps gives much thought to what childcare providers are called as professionals, but we knew that we needed to do something right away to elevate the childcare profession as it stands. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that as we look through the evolution of our work. And then also showcasing the need for improving the childcare climate. Back when we started our work back in 2021, our community had over 700 spots that needed to be addressed for Ellis County in order to ensure that all children had access to quality and affordable childcare. And so that was where our efforts really came to start working. And then call to action and seeking new providers. A lot of our marketing focus has been specifically driven toward really getting people engaged and looking at childcare as a profession, but also to connecting our families to childcare professionals that do have openings. And that has been really important too, because we've had a lot of childcare providers in Ellis County that have had openings over the past year, given the fact that we've had a couple of new centers open since 2023. And so really finding a delicate balance between how do we support this idea of not just childcare centers that are here in Ellis County, but also our family home childcare providers. Next slide, please. So one of the first videos that we put together was done by Next Tech Wireless, and they were very kind to do this with very little investment from our organization. And we were grateful for them to put this together. And a few of the faces that you'll see were early on supporters of our Child Care Task Force of Ellis County, as well as folks from across the state who were a part of our efforts, like Child Care Aware of Kansas, and then also some of our largest employers in town. So if you don't mind, please play in that, Julia.
I think one of the biggest stressors as a new parent, or even with having more kids, is finding daycare. That was something that we really struggled with and weren't able to find daycare until I was right about to go back to work from maternity leave. So unfortunately, right now in the Ellis County community, there's just a huge gap, and there aren't a lot of child care providers who have open spots, if any at all.
Our point-in-time data at Child Care Aware of Kansas shows the potential need of around 700 slots for child care in Ellis County. So if you are interested in joining the child care profession, now is the time.
I am passionate about daycare because I actually started it when I was about 4 months pregnant with our son, and I couldn't find daycare myself. And I've been around kids all my life, and I thought, I can do this. I wanted to provide something for my kids and other kids where they could learn and grow, and I mean, there's nothing better.
Having access to affordable and reliable childcare makes it really easy for our employees to make it into work. So I think what it's done is impacted us as the largest employer in the area. Through the growth of the community, we've just kind of outgrown it, and we have fewer providers.
Our daycare provider really is just so valuable to us, and daycare providers in general are really the foundation of any community, helping these children grow and learn in their first experiences in life. So I really think in order for a community to grow and thrive, we absolutely need to have all of these daycare providers, and they are just such a huge blessing to our communities.
If we don't have a place that's here, close and local and easy access, then those employees will seek to work in the place where they actually receive their child care.
Child care providers are needed in your community. Families need child care to stay at work, to return to work, and that impacts your community. Helping the workforce is what you will be doing by opening a child care business. Not only that, it's a very rewarding and fulfilling career. If you're needing support and services to begin that journey, please contact Child Care Aware of Kansas. We have the support and resources needed and necessary to begin you on this wonderful journey.
I think if you're thinking about opening up a child care, there's nothing better. You're going to have hard days, but you're going to have hard days at any job. But I can tell you that the hard days are few and far between, and even, the challenging behaviors or whatever, when you can get them past, and just those hugs, are just, there's nothing like it. And the smiles and the giggles and, all the things, they just kind of negate all the challenges and trials that you might go through, and it's just amazing. It's amazing.
So I'll go ahead and take a brief moment to pause and just ask if there are any questions about that initial video that our community put together, just to better highlight the need for childcare providers in our community. Okay. All right, Julie, if you can go ahead and go to that next slide if there aren't any questions so far. As I said, we worked on a pretty specific marketing campaign. And when I was asked by Melissa and Julia to provide this presentation, I know that they specifically were interested in us sharing how we marketed our efforts and advertising the things that our Child Care Task Force of Ellis County was working on. And so my presentation will be relatively heavy on some of those things on the front side. And then on the back side, I'll talk a little bit more specifically about some of the initiatives that our organization has helped carry out. This beautiful woman on your screen now, her name is Dana Stanton, and she works for the Innovation Center. She was hired several years back to really be the director for the child care programming for the Northwest Kansas region. And I don't know that there's many child care providers out in our community who don't know her at this point in time. But she put together a radio commercial, and some of these spots that you'll see with the people's photos will just showcase some of the commercials that we had run with our partners at Eagle Radio. So if you don't mind playing that one, please, Julia.
Are you looking to become a child care provider or further develop your current child care program? There are resources available to assist you every step of the way. Apply for licensing, receive professional development training, and learn about assistance for your child care program by visiting ksqualitynetwork.org. This message is brought to you by the Child Care Task Force of Ellis County. Be a child care champion.
Okay, next slide, please, Julia. And I'll show a couple more examples just to indicate a little bit of some of the diversity and range that some of our earlier commercials had. The gentleman on your screen is Mike Morley, and he works for Midwest Energy, which is one of our larger employers in town. And they are a strong supporter of our community. And his message was, how can businesses get involved in this idea of supporting childcare, but more specifically, what maybe businesses can do to help support their employees who need for childcare. So I'll have you go ahead and play that clip now, please, Julia.
There are many barriers that prevent parents from entering the workforce. Childcare cost and availability are just a few. I'm Mike Morley with Midwest Energy, and I want to encourage employers to start the discussion now on how to help break down those barriers. It may seem like a big task for a small business, but there are solutions. Visit the Chamber of Hayes and the Ellis County Child Care Task Force to see how your business can help support your staff through initiatives or through direct donations. Help grow our community. Be a child care champion today.
Paid for by the Child Care Task Force of Ellis County.
Part of the work that we were doing when this commercial had aired was we were working as a chamber to engage our different business community members to understand if there were enough needs within any of our larger employers' wheelhouses to do childcare projects. And shortly after we had aired this commercial was when Hayes Med had started working on their efforts to put their child care center together. So it was interesting to see how some of the work we were doing as a task force was impacting and the things that were being done kind of within our community. One of the things I will share was so important for our marketing campaign specifically is we did not have any group in town that was specifically circulating this idea and focus of childcare as a need for improving the strength of our community overall. And we felt that a marketing campaign really heightening awareness for those needs was going to be one of the most impactful ways that our committee could start to see improvement in the capacity for childcare. And we were very lucky early on to access some grant funds, and I'll talk about that in some of our future slides. But Julia, if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. Okay, yours truly here. So one of the things that we also wanted to focus on was high quality childcare and what that might look like, and just making sure that people knew how to access those resources. So I'll have you go ahead and play that clip now, please.
High-quality childcare starts with confident, well-equipped childcare professionals. That's our mission at the Child Care Task Force of Ellis County, to offer professional development, safety resources, and the tools childcare professionals need to be confident and thrive with their business. Because when we support childcare professionals, families in Ellis County win. Learn more about the Child Care Task Force of Ellis County and our efforts at hayschamber.com.
This commercial aired shortly around the time that we were starting to do our professional development series. And that was really an effort for us to support childcare providers to receive the 16 hours of certification that they needed at the time for their annual licensure requirements. And then if you would please advance to the next slide, Julia. All right, childcare safety. I'll have a bigger video that shows this, but we worked on a very large project as a task force to do safety bags for emergency response, I guess, implementation for all of our Ellis County childcare providers. So this particular commercial kind of focuses on that effort.
Did you know nearly 70% of Kansas childcare professionals say they need more support to feel safe and prepared? The Childcare Task Force of Ellis County is stepping up and providing go bags fully stocked with emergency supplies, as well as providing emergency training and professional support so childcare professionals can feel better prepared. When we invest in childcare safety, we're investing in our future. Learn how the Childcare Task Force of Ellis County is making a difference. Follow us on Facebook or hayeschamber.com to learn more.
Okay, so we had a appreciation event where every single childcare provider in Ellis County that was able to come was gifted a go bag, and I believe the next video that we have coming up features coverage on how we put those bags together. So, Julie, if you would advance to that next slide, please. Oh, I apologize. I think that one's coming up. This one actually is a Child Care Fund of Ellis County. Interestingly enough, since we've been doing this for 4 years now, one of the discussions we have as a community and really as a task force is how do we go about funding all of our efforts? We've been blessed to be able to access some grant dollars to help offset some of the cost of time that I do as facilitator for the Child Care Task Force of Ellis County. But we don't have really any income that our chamber has on a regular basis that is invested specifically toward child care. And our chamber actually has a chamber check program. It's money that gets spent like cash in our community for our chamber member businesses. And every 5 years or every year our chamber looks at if those chamber checks aren't spent, our board writes them off essentially. We'll still make sure that the checks are paid for by our chamber if they're deposited after 5 years, but most businesses don't receive checks that are more than 5 years old. And so we decided this year to invest those funds into the Child Care Fund of Ellis County and create that fund through our Heartland Community Foundation. We were lucky that at the time that we did this, the Dane G. Hansen Foundation was pledging match funds for new funds within their framework. And so that was how our child care fund was kind of created. We were able to start it with just a little over $10,000 worth of funds. And the video that I will show you now was created specifically for Give Fest. This is an annual event that our Heartland Community Foundation has put on for their fund holders, and funds that are donated by community members are actually matched by the Dane G. Hansen Foundation. And so this just gives you a little bit of a sneak peek as to what we shared with folks who were contemplating making a donation during that week in October.
This week, in partnership with the Heartland Community Foundation, you can make a difference by giving during Give Fest, the October Fest of Giving. Every dollar you give stays right here in Ellis County, supporting childcare professionals with resources, training, and ensuring long-term access to quality care for area families. Visit heartlandgivefest.org, select Childcare of Ellis County Fund, and give online now through October 10th.
Okay. All right. This is the video that I thought was next. This is actually the Emergency Preparedness Project. And so we were very blessed as a community to receive a lot of contributions from many sponsors. So Women Who Lead, as well as Kiwanis Club of Hayes, Golden Plains Credit Union. And specifically, I wanted to give a big shout out to Child Care of Kansas, because they actually were able to give us the funds that primarily offset the cost of this project. And we were just very lucky to be able to do those go bags. Each of the bags had a flip chart that had emergency responses. So if there would be the need to lock in place, like say there were an intruder that were in the neighborhood, and police would encourage childcare providers to lock down their facilities, we would be able to give them a flip chart that showed them step by step. These are the things I need to do first, second, third, and fourth to keep children in my care safe. The same thing was done for things like tornado emergencies or fires, different types of natural disasters. And so everybody got one of those flip charts. And then we had different sizes of diapers that were also included in the backpacks. And I think I don't have them in my office anymore. Otherwise, I'd show you one, but you'll see them in the video here. But really, the idea was just how do we make sure that our child care providers know that they have everything at their fingertips? And so we did some blank sheets that also allow the child care providers to put things like contact information for their guardians and children's names, medications, and things like that on the list. So in the event of an emergency, they would have paper copies to be able to share with the police or anything like that if that need would arise. So, but this video just kind of shows our work putting that all together. If you'd please play that now, Julia.
Emergencies can happen at any time. The Child Care Task Force of Ellis County wants to help child care professionals be ready should an emergency arise. By helping providers prepare with customized go bags, these bags are filled with essential emergency tools. With training, resources, and support from safety experts, child care professionals can have confidence to act fast and keep our children safe. Every second counts, and every child care professional deserves support with the necessary safety resources. Learn more about the Child Care Task Force of Ellis County.
So those bags also had first aid kits in them. They had bottles of water, wet wipes, disinfectant wipes, just anything that you could think of possibly needing. And we put them all in a backpack. That way it was ready to grab and go. So we were very proud to do that. To this day, that's probably still something I'm the most proud of. And during that conversation, we actually also visited with our Ellis County emergency manager, Lyle Pantel, and he was able to have us put some additional information in those backpacks so the providers could update the diagrams of their homes or their center locations. So when first responders may need to go to the facility, they would know what points of entry were at the building, as well as what plans there were to shelter in place and where they would expect to be able to find the child care providers as well as the children they care for. So I'm very proud of everybody who took part in that project. And then if you would please go to the next slide. So that picture on the top right is the culminating moment of that emergency response backpack gift giving. Those beautiful ladies, I think we might have one gentleman in there if I'm not mistaken, were those who attended our child care provider appreciation event. That is an annual event that we actually have every June. We started that back in 2021, shortly after our task force got together. And really just wanted to make sure that they knew that we were there to support them. So upon entry at the event, we gave them all a go bag, and it was really cool to see these women being like, what, this is for me? Like, I get to take this home with me. And their questions were just who took care of this and who paid for this. And I think so often it's the little things in life that mean the most. And so it was just really impactful and kind of humbling to see how touched they all were to receive that. And many of them had friends who were also childcare professionals who could not attend. And we'd had 100 bags made. That's what we were able to get grant funding to create. And that was supposed to be able to hit just about every in-home or family home provider at the time, as well as most of the classroom center classrooms. So that was just really wonderful. But during that event, just to kind of cover that a little bit more, we host that usually at our Rose Garden Banquet Hall in town. Our providers always receive a free meal, and then we give our sponsors a chance to do some giveaways. We tucked those inside of the emergency bags this year just to make that a bit easier. And then Dana Stanton, the beautiful face that you saw from one of those previous commercials, she does appreciation messages, and she has people within our community actually submit video or audio clips or letters to share to say thank you to their child care providers for their families, and she puts that together and lets us share that with our providers in attendance that night, and that's always so much fun. And then this year we added a game, and so we will be doing our 5th year of this starting in June of 2026. And one of the cool things is that we have a chamber member who has been with us for the whole ride of our Child Care Task Force of Ellis County. Next Tech Wireless is our title sponsor for the event. We also have a variety of other sponsors that kind of help support that. And through their donations for the event, we're able to kind of pay for that meal and purchase some giveaways to give to those folks that night. Many of those ladies walked away with fun prizes for things that could be used in their daycare or just self-care items, just as a thank you for all the great work that they do. So next slide, please, Julia. Okay, one of my big labors of love this last year was doing our website updates. So I don't know, I can't see your lovely faces for those attending today, but there is just a lot of information circulating for resources for childcare providers. But the sad thing is that there's not a good central location for all of those resources to be accessed. And so we wanted to do as much work possible to eliminate that barrier. And so we put quite a bit of information on our chamber website at hayeschamber.com. So when you click on childcare, which is one of the tabs on our homepage, you can access the Childcare Task Force of Ellis County. It just shares when our meetings are every month. And then it also indicates our mission, our vision, and the goals of our organization. And then if you look on the right-hand side, those are subpages that I'll also kind of quickly cover too. And the cool thing with our goals that we actually have on our page for our website, we just did a strategic planning session in January, and we had something crazy like 12 goals, and we're already at accomplishing 11 of those 12 goals, just because we have some very talented and passionate men and women at our table representing a wide variety of businesses, organizations, nonprofits, their parents. Some of them are childcare providers at their own family center or family home area or at their own center. Next slide, please. And then one of the other pages, we do something unusual as well, and not a lot of chambers do this. We wanted to help elevate childcare professionals, as I shared earlier. And so one of the things I talked my board of directors for the chamber into doing is to create a childcare provider membership rate for chamber membership. And if members want to have bigger events and the ability to host them, we still charge them the full membership rate. But say a family home provider doesn't want to have like a chamber chat or a ribbon cutting, we offer them chamber membership for only $100 a year. And as you can see, that snippet that has Bright Minds Academy, Hayes Area Children's Center, Reuters Rugrats Daycare of the USD 49 Preschool, Early Childhood Connections, Holy Family Elementary, Precious Creations, and then the Learning Academy. Those are all chamber members that are childcare providers or childcare centers. And so we're very lucky to be able to give that to them. And we're proud to be able to eliminate a little bit of a barrier. We know childcare providers don't make a lot of money, so giving them access to those benefits, like discounts for trainings through our chamber, or access to Chamber Solutions, which is a health insurance offering that our chamber participates in through an association that we belong to at the state level. And then they also receive weekly communication from our chamber for some of the different business happenings that we have going on. And they also get access to other discounts by being a chamber member. And then they have access to our newsletter that we send out every month. And really, this just gives us the better ability to also showcase them in our membership directory. So when people are looking specifically at the field of childcare, they can access a greater list of folks. And we have a lot of people that have been very appreciative of having that option. Next slide, please. Okay. And then one of the biggest things we keep hearing from our family home providers, and where we've worked to establish the highest level of trust, is by helping connect our families that are still seeking childcare options to have, and yes, Childcare Aware of Kansas does have the locally option there. So yes, that's a great point, which is why we had that link on the website first. But we wanted to just put some questions on the website for things that people might need to ask when they are looking for childcare. So are you licensed by the state of Kansas? Obviously, licensure requirements have changed this year. What steps do you take to keep my child healthy? The ratio for adult to children, and what does supervision look like in your facility? And then what activities are done on a regular basis, and how do you maybe partner with families throughout the year? So those were a few things that we were wanting to make sure that families looked at. And then of course, we work very closely with Childcare Aware of Kansas. we have a program called the Welcome Home Program, where anyone who signs on for water service for the first time for the City of Hayes receives a bucket full of all sorts of goodies from all of our chamber members that participate in that program. And we actually include in that a brochure from Child Care Aware of Kansas that gives all the resources that they offer. And then we also have business cards for our Child Care Task Force that we include in that, just in case people have more questions or want to talk to someone here locally. I always refer people to Child Care Aware of Kansas first and foremost, but there are some folks that want to know, like, hey, in the community I came from, childcare was something really important and we wanted to get more involved in that. So what does that look like? So we feel like that's been a very good program for us. And then next slide, please. Ellis County Child Care Surveys and Data is another area where we wanted to showcase some of the work that our task force has completed. So back when we first started in 2021, we did an initial needs survey, and that was where we found out that we had over 700 spots that needed to be filled. And it was within that same survey that we found that over 150 families were not entering the workforce because they didn't have access to quality and affordable childcare. And so, since we had made progress, it was during that time that we had moved from about 700 spots to all the way down to about 475, I think was the number. And then we knew that adding more spots wasn't necessarily where we needed to focus, but maybe we needed to better understand from our families and providers what their current childcare needs were. And so Dana Stanton, again from the Innovation Center, helped us draft a survey that we did for child care providers, for child care, for families seeking child care or currently in care, as well as for businesses. And so all of that information can be found now on our website at hayeschamber.com. And then we also put the Ellis County point in time data from Child Care Aware of Kansas on there. That way, if anybody is curious as to what the stats look like on any given day, it takes them directly to the county link for our website. Next slide, please, Julia. And then professional development. This is probably something that I'm the most proud of as well. Again, one of our approaches that has been a lot different than maybe some other communities is really making sure that our providers know that they have a support network following them wherever they go. We want to cheerlead them and be here for them to connect them with whatever resources we need to connect them to. And so we have a series of childcare professional development events throughout the year. We usually host 3, and then the Innovation Center has a large conference usually in July or August that also gives childcare providers the access to a lot of great content. But we try to make sure that the people who are facilitating those workshops are going through the CAPE process so that they receive content hours for their certification requirements. The next one we have coming up is actually going to be tomorrow. And we run those for a couple of hours, usually in the evening. So it's after they should be able to close shop for the day. And the topic's going to be Childcare Professional Business 101, and really just tools and tips for running a successful childcare business. And then some of the objectives that we're going to be doing are what types of business structures are there for providing childcare, and then understanding the different types of those business structures and what might be best for your business. Insurance coverages and how they protect you, utilizing organizations that provide direct support for childcare professionals. We still find that a lot of our Ellis County childcare providers aren't fully aware of all the resources available at the state level. And then learn how to market your childcare business, which we find that to be one of the biggest ones. And so we're grateful to be able to showcase that tomorrow. These events are free for them to attend, and they receive dinner, and then we try to do a few giveaways as well. And then one of the cool things we're doing in particular with this event is we're having a resource fair so they can connect with people like Child Care Aware of Kansas, Casito, CAPE, our Cottonwood Extension District, and Hayes, the Innovation Center, Sunshine Connections, which offers the food discount program. All of these great resources that are available to our child care providers. And so, again, that will be free for them to attend throughout the year. Next slide, please. Okay, I apologize. My computer just froze. Give me just a minute. Okay, but those provider resources are the final thing that I wanted to just share that we added to our chamber website. And so the logos there, I won't go through all of them, But we have specific information outlined for each of those organizations and have direct links for things that are kind of considered frequently asked questions, whether that's how do I go about licensure? If I'm a family seeking care, where do I go? If I want to look at certification requirement changes or current policies that guide child care providers, where do I find that information? Looking at the Kansas Fire Marshal's Office, how to make sure you pass an inspection, or training offerings through Casito, or maybe some of the resources that are available through the Innovation Center. So all of those things can be found as direct links on our hayeschamber.com website. And next slide, please. So I know that I covered things kind of quickly, but I think the biggest thing that I haven't shared that I just wanted to say is none of this is possible without all of the people who we have at the table. When we got started, we weren't really sure who we needed to have at the table. I myself am not a mother. I don't have any children. And really where we got involved in this whole thing from the get-go was we had a whole group of chamber members who were sharing that we just can't find help because we don't have childcare options for our current employees, or the people that we're hiring aren't able to start until X date because they don't have access to childcare until that point in time. And we really just knew at that point in time that we needed to roll up our sleeves as a chamber. And so I remember after we visited with Hayes Med back in 2021 that year, that I went to my chamber board of directors and said, we don't have anybody focusing on childcare for our community right now. And we really feel like that is a miss. And you don't have to have a lot of money to advocate for childcare. Granted, we've been very blessed. Like I said, we've received a grant from the Bob and Pat Schmidt Foundation to help do a lot of our marketing efforts. Childcare Aware of Kansas, we've been lucky enough to get some of the grants that they have had. We've done the Communities in Action with them, which has given us additional resources and tools to kind of have at our disposal. But really, we just try to do the best job we can applying for grants when they become available to fund some of those efforts. And we've just found that if we are able to bring passionate people together to focus around a very important cause for our community, that we're able to find little wins. And so that's, I think, the biggest advice I would share is that regardless of if you haven't started or maybe you've started and are plateauing and aren't making much progress, there are little things that you can do that can help make a big difference. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Feel free to come off mute to ask a question, or you can type it into the chat as well, whatever anybody is comfortable with, if you have a question for Sarah. And while we're waiting on that, just to see if anybody does have any questions, I want to thank you, Sarah, for sharing that information with us, as well as thanking Melissa Schoenberger from the Children's Cabinet who put this webinar together for us. And as I said earlier, we do have an additional county that we wanted to highlight, and that's Reno County. And we're hoping that they'll be able to come on in December and share their information with us then. Just a comment in the chat, what an amazing chamber you all have. All Chamber of Commerce should incorporate childcare supports. I'm looking at my communities now, and this is not on there. You all are amazing.
Thank you.
So hopefully this will provide some inspiration for people. I am not seeing any questions, Sarah, but as always, you can direct questions to me. You can put those in the chat as I move forward with our early childhood systems updates, if there's anything that you wanted to reach out to Sarah about. But again, Sarah, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Julia. It was a pleasure meeting all of you.
All right, I just have a few early childhood systems updates to go over before we send you on your way for the day. First, Help Me Grow Kansas has an all new look and feel to their website. It is now located at helpmegrow.kdhe.ks.gov, and it is designed with families in mind. Over the past several years, Help Me Grow Kansas has been listening closely to family feedback and has rebranded its website to be a family-forward, easy-to-navigate space. The site now provides clear, engaging information about child development milestones, education for parents and caregivers, and vetted resources and support that help families connect to the services that they need. You can check out that new site and explore how we're growing together in Kansas. And I know that Brianna put that link in the chat for everyone. And next is the Early Childhood Block Grant funding opportunity. The new ECBG funding is coming soon from the Kansas Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund. The RFP is what is going to be coming soon for you to fill out if this is a funding opportunity that you are interested in. But the purpose of the Early Childhood Block Grants are to provide high quality early childhood care and education services for children birth up to kindergarten entry and their families to meet early childhood outcomes related to the blueprint of healthy development, early learning, and strong families. Prenatal and family supports also qualify under this grant opportunity. I will say that this information was in the newsletter that went out yesterday, but the link that Brianna just provided you is the accurate link. There was an old link that was shared in the newsletter yesterday. So the link that is in the chat right now is the accurate link for this early childhood block grant. And next week on Monday, November 17th, they will be holding a technical assistance webinar at 11 a.m. And the registration link to attend is also in the chat if you are interested in learning more about the early childhood block grant funding. Stay connected with us by attending all of our upcoming meetings. Our next early childhood recommendations panel is going to be held on Friday, November 21st from 9 to 11:30 a.m. This meeting is also live streamed on the Children's Cabinet YouTube channel. You can watch it in real time or you can watch the recording at a later date. The next Children's Cabinet meeting will be held on Friday, December 5th from 9 a.m. till noon. And our next early childhood systems building webinar is going to be held on Wednesday, December 10th at noon. And as I've said multiple times, we're hoping that Reno County will be able to join us. And as we usually do in December for the webinars, we'll kind of have a year in review on the things that the Children's Cabinet has accomplished over the year and as Kansas as a state has accomplished over the year. So please join us next month for that. And as always, stay up to date with us. We will be adding a Facebook link on here for our next webinar because All In for Kansas Kids is now on Facebook. You can check out the Facebook to see stories from across our communities, upcoming events, and inspiration about how we're helping kids and families thrive. So this new space was launched where parents, educators, and community partners can connect and stay informed about how we're working together to support every child and family in Kansas. So make sure that you go to the All In for Kansas Kids Facebook page. And as always, please sign up for that All In for Kansas Kids e-newsletter to receive weekly updates and subscribe to the Children's Cabinet YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next month.